Hi, my name is Alyssa, and I like to watch movies. And today, we are talking about a movie that has been featured in almost every single one of my videos. We're talking about Kill Bill. I am a massive fan of Kill Bill. I don't know how else to put it. It is a movie that, defined my relationship with cinema. And I know, it's giving massive film bro energy. I would also snub my nose and be like, wow, where is the taste? It's flavorless. It's like going to Buffalo Wild Wings and going, where is the cinema? Where is the inspiration? Where is the flavor? And you know what I say to that? Sometimes I like Buffalo Wild Wings. Sometimes I like me a spicy boneless wing and a random ass beer and just men yelling at multiple screams that are surrounding me and overstimulating me to the max. Sometimes that's what I want. But hey, we all have to start somewhere. We all have our origin stories. And for me, that is Kill Bill. And despite spending way too much time around a certain convicted predator, Quentin Tarantino is essential to 21st century filmmaking. He is our American auteur. He is truly just a massive film nerd who is deeply obsessed with showing us the epic highs and lows of cinema. I do have my weird beef with QT, not to brag. When I was writing for No Film School, I ended up covering a lot of Quentin Tarantino news and just his quirks as a filmmaker and as a person. However, in my later years at the company, I did do a piece on how QT has some daddy issues, and that's why he hates Indiana Jones 3. And I got not such an anonymous email from someone who was posing as Quentin Tarantino. I think it could have been him. He was using an AOL account sent from an iPad. Basically just shaming me for having thoughts and critiquing opinions.
What's going on here? What's going on here?
There's something deeply unhinged about being a woman in the film criticism sphere where you say something about a movie and everyone goes, you should die. Also, someone told me that I should die because I said Leo DiCaprio's character from the Titanic was a manic pixie dream boyfriend. Guys, I'm having some generic opinions where I'm just I think this is a cool and important thing to talk about, and everyone's like, what if you jumped off a cliff? But people want to be piss babies about things and be a piss baby, you know? We all deserve to be a piss baby every so often, but get a grip, honestly, get a hobby. But hey, I was a girl raised on Kill Bill. I know how to stand up for myself. QT didn't raise no bitch. QT raised a cinephile who is not afraid to share her opinions, and here we are. So let's talk about my opinions. By the way, we're drinking a red wine for tonight's movie. I think it's very appropriate given the final climactic set piece of this movie, so I hope you have a bevy. I also have a secondary bevy, which is a glass of water. For those of you who may not know, there is Kill Bill Volume 1 and Kill Bill Volume 2, but essentially these two movies act as one giant epic. The movies were originally conceived as one idea, with Tarantino writing a 220-page script. Yeah, that's a lot of pages. For some clarity and some context, basically every page of a script is 1 minute on screen. So 220 pages equals about 220 minutes, which is about 4 hours long. And in fact, they ended up shooting the movie as one movie. So the final director's cut of this movie that premiered at Cannes in 20, no, not in 20. Wow. Old. But 4 hours and 18 minutes is kind of absurd for a movie. I think it makes it one of the longest Hollywood made films of all time, putting it next to Cleopatra, which comes in right at 4 hours. The producers at Miramax, gross, vomit, vomit, ew, we hate the Weinsteins, told QT that he had to cut down the movie to 2.5 hours. QT was that is impossible. This movie is 4 hours and 18 minutes long. What am I gonna cut? You know, everything is essential to the plot. What do we do? Smartly, he was I can just cut the movie down the middle, add a few scenes, take some stuff out, and make it acceptable for audiences. Why do they do this? Essentially, if you have a movie that's running 3 hours, that limits the amount of time that you can screen the movie per day at a theater, which essentially means you're losing more money because a whole new theater cannot come in and watch the movie. So that 2.5 hour mark is the sweet spot, which is why you see movies nowadays hitting around that time span, because that's what you want your movies to be around at max. I personally love a 90-minute movie, so if you want to bring that back, I highly recommend it. And the idea for Kill Bill actually came from Tarantino and the lead actress herself, Miss Uma Thurman, who had worked with QT before over on Pulp Fiction. It was during the filming of that movie that the two came up with the idea of movies that they really wanted to do, where Tarantino wanted to do a kung fu movie that's very 70s style, while Uma Thurman wanted to open a movie with her being beaten up while wearing a wedding dress. Keep in mind, she just gave birth to a child and was married to Ethan Hawke at the time. I wonder how well that relationship was going. But in the interest of time and my sanity, we are only going to be covering Kill Bill Volume 1 today and not the whole bloody affair. And Volume 1 is truly a fan favorite, and I get it. It's fun, it's fast, there's fighting, there's blood, there's guts, there's glory. It's cinema, baby. Also, like, who doesn't like a good revenge story? Like, I'm looking around the room and everyone loves it. Everyone loves when a woman is like, you know what? I have nothing else to lose. Let me murder the people who did me dirty. Honestly, that's girlhood. And while the bride doesn't get to kill Bill in Volume 1, spoiler alert, there is a sequel, we do get to really enjoy this roaring rampage of revenge. So let's get into it. The film opens with a black and white image of a woman who is beaten, bloodied, and on the ground dying while wearing a gorgeous wedding gown. This is the bride. This is Miss Uma Thurman. As she's panting, we hear these heavy footsteps approaching her, and guys, you hate to hear him going, "Do you find me sadistic?" Not what you want to hear at the end of a giant fight where everyone in your life just died. He's trying to clean up some blood, and this is where we get the name drop. It's Bill. Honestly, having your name embroidered on like anything you own is kind of diva material. Like, I'm eating it up. Unfortunately, Bill does pull out a gun and says this is him at his most masochistic. The bride is like, "Wait, Bill, the baby is yours." Bang! Bullet to the brain by Tobias Wolff. She is deceased. Movie over, roll the credits. I'm kidding you guys, no, that's not the end of the movie, but do get ready to be slightly confused because this is a non-linear story. Wow. The next scene is us pulling up in our pussy wagon to a Pasadena house. I wish we were at the Craftsman style house because it is so quintessential LA, but unfortunately, gang, we are at some kitsch looking house that is turquoise. The violence I feel in my body. Me, a girl sitting in a fully blue room, despising turquoise. It just makes sense to me. Like, in the California sun, that looks tacky. Luckily for us, the bride is gonna kill whoever owns this house. And the one who owns this house is one Miss Vernetta Green, i.e. Copperhead. Vernetta opens the door and the bride immediately punches her in the face. They're fighting to the death, and oh my gosh, it is an even kill match. No one's gonna win this. Who's gonna make it out alive? I guess we'll never find out because a child enters the ring. Nikia walks in and she's like, what's going on here? And Miss Vernetta is like, you know that damn dog of yours? Yeah, he made a damn fool of himself and wrecked this entire living room. He flipped over the table. He flipped over the bookshelf. Things got crazy. And also, I literally want to take a minute to just really appreciate this entire scene because I love like the blown out saturation of it. I love the blood and the sweat on their faces. It makes me really happy. They're even censoring the bride's name, so we don't actually know her name, which is an interesting choice.
Hi, honey. I'm Mr. Steve. What's your name?
It's very much paying homage to all of those like Western hero figures of like the man with no name or like the driver from the movie Drive. What a good soundtrack, keep listening. But it is a cinematic archetype of revenge where people have been stripped of everything including their identity after a massacre. And so the censorship of her name creates a sense of autonomy and also this myth making of like who is the bride. It's giving the same energy as like Rosaline when she like is on her roaring rampage of revenge in Eclipse in her wedding dress and she's like killing everyone who did her dirty and made her essentially turn into a vampire and she's like, hi. Remember how you killed me? Here I am once again feeling lost but now and then. And similarly to Rosaline, Miss the Bride is pissed off. And she rightfully is pissed off because when she was murdered by the Deadly Viper Squad at her church during her wedding, apparently, she was pregnant. And part of that Deadly Viper Squad was Vernetta. So like, things are not looking good, egg on her face. And Vernetta gets it. She's like, I completely understand where you're coming from. I would be in the same position if you killed my child, which remember that I have one. And the bride is like, you bitch. But Vernita's changed. She's grown. She's a mother now. How could she ever turn back to a life of crime?
Very funny!
The bride immediately launches a knife into Vernita's chest and kills her on the spot, point blank. No questions asked. That's the end of the story, girls. Again, there is a problem. There's always gonna be a problem. Nakia saw this and she's like, oh, what do I do now? I'm literally 5. I'm home alone with my dead mother. The trauma, the therapy I will need. And the bride is like, I get this is traumatic. And if you ever feel like you want to come for your revenge one day, I'll be waiting. And that is like so cold-blooded. Like, I love that. So that is one name marked off of the bride's kill list. And excuse me, what is that? There's already a name marked off? What's going on? I guess we should take it back to the beginning. Time jump. We are going back 4 years and 6 months to the massacre at the Twin Pines wedding chapel. And girls, it is a bloody scene. I bet you want to know what happened. Don't worry, that's in the next movie. No, we only get the aftermath in the first movie. But luckily for us, our girl the bride is still kicking. Well, I should say spitting. She is just in a coma, so it's nothing serious. But for Miss L. Driver, it's serious. And she is ready to finish the job, and she is gonna look damn good doing it. Not only does she look stunning in the Trompe l'oeil fit from Moschino's 2001 fall collection, with a matching eye patch no less, but she is whistling an iconic tune that is just so cinema. And also, Elle, I'm so sorry, but I'm pretty sure the eye patch violates the Geneva Convention. I played enough Stardew Valley to know that that cross has to be a different color. It cannot be red. Unfortunately, Bill gives Elle a call and he's like, hey, what if you just like abort the mission? Elle is rightfully pissed city. She's like, what the fuck? I invested in a costume. I dressed up. I fit in. I look amazing. And now you're saying don't do it? Literally, I had the needle in the catheter. Like, what? Hello? You should have made up your mind like 20 minutes ago. But Bill is still the leader of the Deadly Viper Squad, and so you must listen to the guy who's giving you your commands. Time jump. We're 4 years in the future. After the mosquito from Jurassic Park makes his cameo and sticks his little nose into the bride, she jolts awake. And some bad news, she's no longer pregnant. Yeah. The baby's gone. Some other bad news, there's a nurse named Buck who likes to fuck, who has been pimping out bodies that have been in comatose states for quite a while. And it's, pretty upsetting. Believe it or not. If you want another very good upsetting movie, like about the same thing, but like in a less gross way, Talk to Her. I think it's called Talk to Her. It's a Spanish movie. It's really good. Kind of upsetting, but very good. And what a time to be alive, because Buck is back to pimp out the bride's body, and she's like, what if I ripped out the man's tongue and slammed Buck's head into a door multiple times and then stole his clothing? We love to hear it. She also takes his ride, which, yes, happens to be the Pussy Wagon. And knowing why it's called the Pussy Wagon is, once again, deeply upsetting. I also love that she's dodging the hospital bills. Like, girl, I get it. If you run, you don't have to pay. I think that's a law. But when the bride finally gets to her getaway car, after leaving the hotel bar, took the money and stole the keys, and that was the last time you ever saw me. The bride has to bring back motion into her body because she's been a vegetable for the last 4 years. So while she's trying to wiggle her big toe, feet scare, we get some backstory and some lore about her first victim on the list, which to her is the easiest one to find. That person is Oren Ishii. But just because she's the easiest to find doesn't mean she's gonna be the easiest to kill. Known as the queen of the Tokyo underworld, Oren is a half Chinese Japanese American who became the leader of the Yakuza and of the Crazy 88 after leaving the Deadly Viper Squad. Oren is played by Lucy Liu, and my god, can we give Miss Liu her flowers? Oh, she's so good in this. She was doing this and Charlie's Angels at the same time. Like, she really was our action queen. After getting an iconic animated backstory on Oren, the bride is able to wiggle her toes, and she's like, let's rock, girls. 13 hours later, all 10 of her pigs are wiggling, and she is ready to go to Tokyo and get herself a weapon. And she's not just getting any old little sword, no, girls. She's getting a Hattori Hanzo. He was a master swordsmaker who was making all these beautiful swords for Bill and the gang, but was like, it feels wrong that all my creations are being made to murder millions of people. I'm gonna give up making swords and open a sushi restaurant in the dingiest part of all of Japan, I guess. I shouldn't say that all of Osaka is like the grimiest part of Japan, because I do not think that's true. I think where he has his sushi restaurant is a rougher spot of Osaka. But like, hey guys, guess what? I've never been. So who am I? So the bride is in a bit of a sticky situation because Hanzo isn't gonna give her a sword, and he has sworn off making swords. And she's like, oh, I'm gonna kill one of your former students. And he's like, oh, Bill? Yeah, girlfriend, I'll make you a sword right here, right now. And 1 month later, she gets a sword. And like, Bill is pissing everybody off. Like, what is this man doing to like make so many enemies? Like, he needs to check his privilege or something, because he is just a menace to society. And to be fair, Hanzo's logic makes sense, because if he makes this sword for the bride and it's the last sword he ever makes, then he's getting a redemption arc for himself. He is creating the final sword that will kill the violence that he's brought into this world. It's also his redemption arc. So it's really cool that we're getting a revenge redemption arc. I love cinema. And guys, I hate to tell you this, the sword is beautiful. And guess what? Guess what I also got for my birthday? It's like a bit ridiculous. Like, hold on, let me move this. It's like a bit ridiculous. I've never owned a sword in my life, and I kind of feel like a weeb here. Oh, I need like a fruit ninja this. Maybe that's what I'll... Okay, this is enough. I feel like a dork. But it also has like the little Hanzo thing on there, and it's so cute. I love it. I'm really happy about it. With a weapon and a mission, the bride is off to Tokyo to kill a bitch. After a quick ride on Air Airlines and a costume change to channel her inner Bruce Lee, the bride is ready to chop off some limbs. And the first on the chopping block is Sophie Fatale. Honestly, great name. Love her. And like, unfortunately for Sophie, who is the best friend and the lawyer for Miss Oren, she gets her arm chopped off in front of the entire restaurant. You hate to be the sacrificial lamb. Oren is not having a good time about this. She's like, okay, bitch, you wanna fight? I'm gonna send off my subordinates to fight you. And one by one, the bride takes them down because she really is that girl. And after fighting, I would say like 6 people, the bride is like, what else do you got for me, girlfriend?
Hi.
Unfortunately, she has to fight Gogo. Gogo is a 17-year-old menace. Again, this is why I'm afraid of teenagers. It's because you have people like Gogo who are just like, I love my mistress and I'm going to wreak havoc on anybody who wants to wreak havoc upon me. And like, she is kicking ass. And guys, this fight is so iconic. Like, where do I even start? I mean, guys, Rory Gilmore dressed up as Gogo and Gilmore Girls. Like, the levels, the layers, the iconicness of it all. Like, if you're not going as the bride in her yellow jumpsuit for Halloween as like a Kill Bill reference, you're going as Gogo. Like, those are your 2 options. The fact that the bride has no weapon during this entire fight and Gogo has a mince, is that what you call it? Like a mince? What is that ball called? Spiked ball? Is that what we're calling it? No, there has to be an actual... A flail? It's called a flail? Guys, oh my god, it really is called a flail. Gogo is constantly getting the upper hand over the bride, and also there's wire work in the scene that just like makes them fly from table to table. That is cinema. There's also this shot of Gogo doing a little leg thingy, and then there's a bowling pin sound anytime that Gogo falls over. It's so good and ridiculous. Like, this is what I love in movies. Like, this is why I like 28 Years Later, because it's a bit ridiculous and you're just like, what are we doing here, girls? But you know what? I'm entertained. Unfortunately, pour one out for Gogo, because the bride ultimately does get the upper hand and slams a piece of wood with nails sticking out into Gogo's brain. But silly rabbit, tricks are for kids because the crazy 88 are here. Love them. Are there 88 of them? No. But does it really matter? Because there could be 8 of them, there could be 188 of them. All you need to know is that the bride's gonna fuck them up. Blood is spraying, limbs are flying. It's so bloody and gory that, girls, we gotta go black and white. Now, if you've seen the whole bloody affair, you know that the scene is in color. But you're probably asking yourself, if you've never seen that version of it, like I, at the present moment, you're like, so why is it black and white? I'll tell you. This scene was originally supposed to be shown in color, but the MPA was like, this is pretty gruesome. And because of how violent the scene was in color, the MPA was like, hey, we're gonna give your movie an NC-17 rating, which is essentially an X rating prior to the 1990s. Now, folks, if you know anything about movies, you know that an NC-17 rating is a death knell. They are given to films that are explicit in nature, be that sexually violently or has mature themes that are inappropriate for anybody under the age of 17. Hence why it's called NC-17. If you are 17 or younger, you are not allowed to see the movie. And so essentially what you're doing is you're cutting down your viewing audience pretty much in half. If you didn't know this about like our economy, teenagers are like the biggest contributors to capitalism. What is it, like 16 to 24-year-olds are like the culture makers? And so like there's a sweet spot where you're like spending the most money and spending the most time and having the most influence in your life, and yet you are being limited by the powers that be because like things might be too much for your undercooked brain at the moment. And while I think, and I really do think the whole rating system is a bit flawed, it doesn't really matter because as soon as you get an NC-17 rating, theaters are not going to get your movie. They don't want a movie that can't be seen by a bigger audience because that's not going to make them enough money, and that won't make you enough money because your movie isn't being distributed properly. And then you pretty much have a guaranteed flop. You're guaranteed to lose money on the project. And so when Kill Bill got the NC-17 rating, he and Miramax were like, ooh, we gotta fix the problem. And so to fix the problem, they edited out a ton of scenes where there were extra limbs, and they made the whole bloody thing black and white to hide the carnage. Luckily, it was enough to be considered tasteful, and the MPA gave the movie an R rating, which is fine by us. The bride cuts through the entire Crazy 88, keeping her limbs as a trophy because she worked hard, goddammit, and she deserves it. Now it's time to fight Oren. Oren is chilling in her beautiful snow garden, which is a really good contrast to the bloody mess we just left behind inside. That was the past, girls. We're moving forward. Fun fact I learned recently, that snow isn't snow. It's soap. That's it. That's the fun fact. That's all I gotta tell you. Unfortunately, Oren does get a really good slice on the bride, and it's just like, oh, silly Caucasian girl wants to play samurai, love. And honestly, that felt really personal. I heard that and I said, oh, not me being in the room going, I love this, and then getting called out for my love in it. I'm just like, oh, got it, that's fine. Then Oren has the gall to be like, you'll never be a samurai, but at least you can die like a samurai. Ooh. The girls were screaming and shouting because we're like, oh, she respects her love. But there's something about being seen that really does spark a second life, a second wind in the bride. And she's like, let me stand up for just one moment and I will kick your goddamn ass. And kick her, well, she doesn't really kick her ass, but she does chop off her head and give her a lobotomy that is chops beyond belief. Just lobotomized. So where does the bride go from here? Well, we know she has killed Oren. She killed Copperhead at the beginning, so 2 people marked off the list. She has Sophie and she's like, hey girly pop, I need you to give this information to Bill and I need you to give me information. I need you to tell me what I need to know and I need you to tell Bill that I know what he knows. Got it? Good. And because we have morals here, she's like, Sophie, I'm gonna push you down this giant hill to a hospital. Nothing but love and light. At the very end, Ben is consoling Sophie and is like, hey, just got one question to ask you. Does she know her child's still alive? Cut the credits. The Kill Bill Volume 1. Guys, I love this movie. Don't know if you know this about me, but I like these movies. They kind of rock. Also, this movie was 2 hours long. And I think the script was like 6 pages. I don't feel like there's a lot here because like a lot of it is just fighting and visuals that like I can't translate. This really is a movie you have to watch and be like, got it, taking notes, cinema. But like, it's just a good revenge movie. Like, it's a fun action revenge movie. And I don't love revenge movies. I like the concept of them, but in like practice, I kind of like the emotional draw of movies. I like empathy machines. I feel like revenge movies are like, there's 2 emotions where you're just like, yeah, get them. And I really don't have that feeling a lot in my life. Like, I'm not really like an eye for an eye kind of gal. I just think it's kind of pointless. I don't see the whole purpose in the cycle of violence. But I like women being angry because like we don't get to be angry that much. Like, women do get put into boxes and I'm like, what if we had to mention? Just a thought. Does that make this a feminist movie? No. Love Tarantino so much, but I do not think he's a feminist. Again, this movie does pass the Bechdel test, which, like, thank God. But there's, like, nothing inherently, like, feminist about this movie. I think the only thing you could say is feminist is that they, like, respect each other. But, like, that's The bar is on the like absolute floor, if that's feminism. I think my kinship and like just overall general relationship with this movie and just like admiration for it comes from pure nostalgia. I would watch this movie in my dad's car growing up on our way to like import shows all the time, and I was obsessed with it. It literally was this movie, What You Waiting For by Gwen Stefani, that music video, and then also Cloverfield. Guys, nothing like being raised by a single dad. But like this movie, it's just fun. It's fun, it's smart, it opens the world of cinema for so many people who wouldn't have looked otherwise. I know that like in my house, this movie really got us into like a whole situation where we were just watching a ton of Japanese horror films. So I grew up on that and I was traumatized beyond belief, but I loved it. I also had a TV that only got like 30 stations. I don't know what happened to it. Something was really busted with this TV. But I remember I could watch like My Big 4-0 in the evenings, Star Trek, which I hated, or like Japanese game shows and like prank shows. This movie was like, oh, there's this whole other world of entertainment that exists. You just have to take time and actually engage with it a bit more. And that's what I really appreciate about Tarantino. He's like, there's so much out there. You just gotta be open to discovering it. And some films that are referenced in this movie that I think you should totally check out include Lady Snowblood, Sanjuro, Battle Royale, and Game of Death. I love Battle Royale. I think it's kind of campy as hell, but if you like Hunger Games, girl, I hate to tell you this, you're gonna love this movie. I will say, there is also not a cool song that you can dance at the club to, so I pour one out.
Are you coming to the tree?
With all of this said, I'm gonna give Kill Bill Volume 1 an A-. I know, don't look at me. I know that Kill Bill Volume 1 is everyone's favorite. It's probably your favorite, and I love that for you. But I love Kill Bill Volume 2. I'm so sorry. I love the drama. I love the death. As I said earlier, I'm not big on revenge. Not my cup of tea. But Kill Bill Volume 2 has like emotions. And also just like, I just like the way it ends. And so I'm just like, yes. It also has a Karma Gia in it, which I'm going to talk to you about the Karma Gia thing because there was a whole accident behind that made like waves around the Me Too movement. And I think Tarantino never responded to these not even allegations, because the footage was released. But I did love the Karma Gia and I wanted one growing up. But my mom was saying this guy who, his family in St. Louis had a Karma Gia that was the same color as the one in Kill Bill Volume 2, and I got to ride around in it, and I was like, literally the whole time I was just sitting in the car going, ah. There's been so many moments in my life where like I get to live out these scenes that I see in movies like so perfectly, and I'm just like, guys, I can't believe life is real. Like, this is so crazy. I think another one for me was like seeing the filming locations of Interview with the Vampire. I was like, sorry, Interview with a Vampire. The Interview with the Vampire. But like I got to see a lot of those filming locations, and I was like, guys, it's real. But if you guys would like for me to cover Kill Bill Volume 2 in the future, let me know. I would love to do it for you guys. I'm deeply obsessed with the movie. But let me know what you thought about this movie in the comments below. If you like this video, give it a like. Maybe even share it if you're feeling frisky. And if you're not subscribed yet, hi. You made it to the end, might as well subscribe. You can also follow me over on socials and on Letterboxd, which is like probably where I'm most active, which is a very crazy statement to make. But until next time, go and support your local Cineplex, and I will see you at the movies. Bye.